Welcome to our channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave comments. Today's story is about a private music teacher whom we will call Mr. A. He is not a formal school teacher, but instead travels to his students' homes to give private lessons. He doesn't advertise his services in any major way. Most of his students come through word of mouth among parents who want their children to learn music, along with a few randomly handed out business cards that occasionally bring in new clients. One day, Mr. A received a phone call from the parent of a young girl asking if he could provide private piano lessons at their home. The house was located in an affluent neighborhood. Mr. A wasn't particularly surprised, as private lessons are usually something only well-off families can afford. Over the phone, both parties, the parent and Mr. A, discussed the details and agreed on the arrangement. The first lesson was scheduled for Saturday at around 6 p.m. When Saturday arrived, Mr. A drove up to the entrance of a private estate that had a security booth at the gate. He showed his ID to the guard, who then opened the gate for him. Mr. A drove further in for a couple of minutes until he located the house he was looking for. The front door was already open, which Mr. A assumed was because the guard had notified the family of his arrival. After knocking a couple of times, he stepped inside. The parents greeted him politely, and Mr. A introduced himself as the person who had received their call and had come to teach their daughter piano. The student was a girl around 7 or 8 years old. She appeared shy, quiet, and well-behaved. The parents also seemed polite and well-mannered, and it was clear to Mr. A that the girl's behavior likely reflected how she had been raised. After the brief introduction, Mr. A was led to the piano and began the lesson. On the first day, everything seemed normal. During the lesson, however, Mr. A noticed that the girl interacted very little with him. She followed his instructions minimally, played only the notes he asked her to play, and remained mostly silent. He assumed this was simply because it was her first lesson and that she was feeling shy, so he didn't think much of it. A couple of hours later, the lesson ended, and the parent handed him the lesson fee for that day. This routine continued for several months. Then one day, when Mr. A arrived for a lesson, something was different. He discovered that only the girl was at home. There were no parents or anyone else around. Although he found it a bit unusual, he didn't think too deeply about it. Mr. A assumed the parents might be busy, and that, after months of lessons, they probably trusted him enough to leave him alone with their daughter. With that assumption, he proceeded with the lesson as usual. After a few hours, the lesson ended. Mr. A noticed that the parents still hadn't returned. He asked the girl if her parents were home. She replied calmly,
"Mom and Dad aren't here yet. They haven't returned from work."
Mr. A didn't think much of it at the time. He told her that he would message her parents later and then left the house without receiving the lesson fee for that day, though he did send them a short message afterward. Several days passed. On Thursday, Mr. A suddenly realized that he had forgotten to send a message to confirm the next lesson. When he opened the chat, he noticed something strange. Neither parent had read his previous message. Feeling uneasy, he decided to call them directly, but no one answered. The next day, Friday, nothing had changed. His messages were still unread, and his calls went unanswered. Unable to contact them, Mr. A decided to cancel the lessons. He thought that if they reached out again in the future, he might consider returning, but for the time being, he chose to pause the lessons, unsure whether they even wanted him to continue. 2 or 3 years slipped by, and then one day, Mr. A received a message on his messaging app from the same parents. They said they wished for him to teach their daughter once more. Mr. A instantly remembered them, the parents who had abruptly cut off contact without a word. After some hesitation, he agreed to resume teaching. Once again, the lesson was scheduled for Saturday at 6 p.m., the same time as before. When the day arrived, Mr. A drove to the private estate as he had done in the past. This time, the security guard at the entrance seemed busy with something else and opened the gate without checking his ID. Mr. A parked in front of the house and went inside as usual. Upon entering, he noticed that the girl was alone again, just like before. He greeted her and began the lesson. This time, however, the atmosphere inside the house felt strange, quiet, dimly lit, and unsettling. The girl still spoke very little, responding mostly with nods. Mr. A thought to himself, even after all these years, she's still not very interactive. She focused solely on playing the notes, never really engaging with him, and the silence in the house felt heavier than he remembered. After finishing the lesson, Mr. A once again noticed that the girl's parents were nowhere to be seen, just like before. A faint sense of uneasiness crept over him. He couldn't help wondering, why were the parents never present during lessons, and why had they suddenly stopped responding years ago without giving any explanation? Despite all the years that had passed, nothing had changed. The place was the same, and even the girl looked exactly as he remembered, except for the unsettling silence that clung to her. The atmosphere inside the house felt strangely heavy, almost as if the air itself had changed. So Mr. A gently asked the girl, "Are your parents not home today?" The girl didn't answer aloud. She simply shook her head. Mr. A quietly scanned the room, searching for any signs that someone else might be in the house. He wanted to know where the parents were, but it soon became unmistakably clear. No one else was there. The only one in the house was the girl, alone, entirely alone. Feeling more and more uneasy, Mr. A decided it would be best to leave. Before stepping outside, he told the girl that he would message her parents. The next morning, he tried reaching out to them directly. All he could think was that he needed to understand what was going on, but just like before, his messages remained unread. He tried calling as well, yet no one picked up. With no other option, he waited. By Friday, he tried again. More messages, more calls, but the result was the same. No replies, no answers at all. Saturday arrived, the usual lesson day, and Mr. A chose to go to the house anyway. He tried to reassure himself, thinking that perhaps the parents were simply busy. That evening, he drove to the girl's home. At the entrance of the private estate, the security guard asked for his ID. Mr. A explained that he was the piano teacher coming for a lesson. The guard then asked for the house number. Mr. A said, "Number 114. The guard looked confused and repeated the question. Mr. A, still calm, repeated, 114. The guard then stepped back into the guard post, seemingly to speak with someone. Mr. A felt his anxiety rise. He didn't want to be late. Soon, the guard returned and asked again,
"Could you tell me the house number one more time?"
Frustrated, Mr. A replied firmly, 114. Then the guard spoke the words that made Mr. A's blood run cold. It was impossible. According to the estate records, the house had been abandoned for 2 to 3 years, and the entire family had died in an accident. Mr. A stared in disbelief. That can't be. I was just there last week. I need to check for myself. After repeated insistence, the guard reluctantly allowed him to enter. The evening air felt thick and eerie as Mr. A drove deeper into the neighborhood. When he reached the house, he saw a large "For Sale" sign hanging on the gate. The fence was chained and padlocked. The yard was overgrown with tall weeds, untouched for years. Trees cast long, dark shadows across the property. The house looked abandoned, forgotten by time. A cold shiver ran down his spine. His thoughts swirled in confusion. Where is the girl he had been teaching? What had really happened to the family? And more importantly, if they had all died, who, then, had contacted him for lessons? Overwhelmed, he didn't even stop the car. He slowly drove past the house, unable to look at it any longer. He made his way back out of the neighborhood, glanced at the guard without saying a word, and left immediately for home. From that day on, Mr. A couldn't stop thinking about it. How did the whole family die? When did it happen? And who, or what, had he been teaching piano lessons all this time? No matter how much he tried to reason it out, no answers came. Before we wrap up, please subscribe to support this small channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss new stories. Thank you for watching and listening until the end. See you in the next video.